be somewhere, maybe not look so pretty, but, be somewhere within a half hour, get my shower, get everything done. I don't know what I'm going to do when I end up like I was over that weekend, because that was awful. 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 God got me through it. Of course he did, but I had to cry about it a little. I had to be a little wimpy about it. Yeah. Actually, my friend Marilyn's talking about this with me, and, she has a valid point. She has been through her own struggles, and she has been at that point of exhaustion where she could not get out. She could not walk. She couldn't even walk. She couldn't even mobilize. Now, 6 months later, well, I'll say a year later, she has totally recovered to a large extent. She's up. She's out. She told me today she's running around doing errands with her grandchild, and she's just full of vinegar.
See, yeah. I would have not ever guessed she was sick.
I know it. I know it. It was amazing. I actually wanted to come up and tell you real quick.
Okay, please.
Will you come up and talk to me for about 5 minutes about it? Sure. All right.
So I want to know what was wrong with you.
Here, I want you to use these. You can share this.
What was wrong with you?
What was wrong with you?
What was wrong with me?
Talk right into the microphone.
Well, I'm going to share this with you. The doctors say something's wrong with me, but I'm not going to own it. But I had thyroid disease. Therefore, my doctor didn't know what to do about it. So what they thought was, so I didn't have a heart attack, to send me down to the U of M and do radioactive iodine. So I was hyperthyroid, and then after they did that, they took me into hypo.
Because they killed off your thyroid.
Yeah, they stopped the functioning of the thyroid by doing that. Without even checking for the root cause, they chose to do that method. So, therefore, they put me on synthetic thyroid medication, which your body does not really recognize synthetic. Anything synthetic. Your body will let you know, hey, I don't like it. And it will not digest. So it just hangs out in the gut, which it was doing since 2006 until 2013. I started going downhill. I started getting big as a house. My food wasn't digesting. I had a lot of IBS, you name it, on digestion. They labeled it for me.
And chronic fatigue and the exhaustion, everything,
and no
that comes
sleeping.
with it. Yeah.
I wasn't sleeping. My hair was falling out. And then over time, when your food doesn't digest, that bacteria that
leaky
we already
gut.
have.
Did you
Yes.
get leaky gut? Oh,
Leaky
crap.
gut. H. pylori. 3 stages of candida.
Oh, man.
Which really was taking all of what I was consuming and stealing it from me, and I wasn't getting the nutrients that I needed to function in a daily.
So then, in essence, you were starving.
I was starving. I was right down to 98 pounds, nothing but skin and bones. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't being the wife I needed to be, the grandmother, the mother that I needed to be. But what happened was when they put me into mental institute because they didn't know what to do with me, they thought it was all to do with your mental. Well, yeah, it's going to, because you know what? My brain
Then you get depressed.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But isn't that funny? When they can't figure out what's wrong, it's not them.
No.
It's you.
You're crazy.
No, yeah.
You must be all in your mind.
But
Because it's not this and it's not this and it's not this. So it must be psychosomatic.
Well, it must not even
Right.
exist.
But what I did, I put it in God's hands, and I did a lot of researching, and that took me to this Dr. Slatic in Detroit that did extent blood work, stool sample. He did a hair analysis. He did a saliva test.
And he was a MD, but he also
No,
did the
not that
naturopath.
one.
Oh, he was a naturopath.
Yeah, he's a naturopath out of
Very
Novi.
good. Wonderful.
And he found out that I have a mutation that is responsible for your protein, vitamin B and D, and it's where you don't have enough stomach acid to break down your proteins. Therefore, when over time your protein isn't going anywhere, it's plugging up your liver. So that's where fatty liver comes from.
Right.
So therefore, your T3 cannot convert to T4.
And we're back to thyroid. She's
Yeah.
talking about thyroid.
Yeah, because it's all related. It's all related. Because once they stop a functioning of one of your organs, it throws the rest of them off.
So what you're saying, Marilyn, is that when they gave you the initial diagnosis of hyperthyroidism, there was an underlying factor that they didn't correct that continued
Right.
to cause problems with your other organ functions.
Right.
And therefore, eventually, your entire body started to
Shut down. It did. And this is what I found with my sister Barb in 2013. Her body all shut down. And if I knew what I know now, I would have helped her go down that same road that I'm going down.
Unfortunately, she stuck with the medical, the allopathic model, and she ended up passing away.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Due to the fatty liver.
Right.
Yeah. So if you are going to have one of your organs, dysfunction, it's going to throw the rest of them off. So how can you really function? So therefore, why would you say take your car to an auto technician and he removes your transmission? Is that going to run? Is your car going to run? No.
It'll run, but it won't go.
It won't.
Right. It's not going to go right, is it?
So
No.
that's like them, instead of finding your root cause, they
Let's just
rather
kill it, and then
yes.
how good's it going to work?
Yeah.
Right, and that in a nutshell is my complaint about doctors.
Yes.
Yeah.
They don't keep looking until they find what's causing it. They just keep masking symptoms. We went through that same thing with my husband.
Yeah. That's
They
all
never
do.
found
That's
what caused it, that blindness in that eye. And I said to him, well, now what? And they said, well, it could happen again, and it may never happen again.
Yeah.
You're a doctor. Find out.
Well,
Kind of like when somebody's
Where it's coming
threatening you,
from.
and it's like, well, what can I do about it? Well, nothing until they kill you, and then we can do something about it.
Right.
Well, how does that work? Like for my health wise, I can't do anything to help you unless you're on death's door, and then come and see me, and we'll try to save you. I mean, I just don't get it.
Right.
I don't get it.
Right, and when I would tell them, they would put me on the medications, and I would tell them what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing, and I never had this before they gave me this medicine. And the more I complained about it while I was in the hospital, they upped my dose. And it was taking my sight. And I couldn't stand or see to go to the bathroom, and a nurse sat right next to me and made fun of me. And
She again thought you were mental. She
Mental.
thought you were making it all.
Yeah. Yeah, because they don't go to school to know the root cause. They
Right.
treat our symptoms.
Right, right.
So then what happened? You met all your naturopaths.
Yes.
You went down the natural road.
Yes.
And you do a lot of research on your own.
A lot. And I researched into how the body works. And when I found Dr. Deer,
How long ago was that?
was April?
Sounds
April.
about right.
Yep.
It was, it's
yep.
been this year. It's only been
April
about 5-6 months.
of this year. And I see Dr. Shelson, which we were camping last May, and a girl told me about Dr. Shelson.
Dr.
Because
Shelson is a naturopath in Carroll for everybody.
yes.
He's wonderful.
He's wonderful. And so is Miss Dr. Deer.
He's so
I'm
sweet.
telling you.
But
I
it's
saw you
such a
slip her
huge
that
difference.
$5.
What?
I saw you slip her that $5.
I did.
But if you don't research, you take what the doctor tells you, don't own it. Look into it. Your body's telling you something for a
Amen.
reason.
Right,
Yeah.
They call it a medical opinion.
Yes.
An opinion.
And they are
Opinion
just
is
practicing.
They are practicing.
They're just practicing.
They
I love
are
that.
just
That's
practicing.
And
Exactly.
you're the practice model. So we're practicing on you.
Yes.
So, I mean, like Marilyn says, if you're not satisfied with the opinions you're receiving, you absolutely can take it into your own hands and start researching and educating yourself and getting your body more healthy. Okay, so maybe you don't know how to deal with hyperthyroidism, but there is information out there, and the more healthy your body gets, the more nutrients it gets, obviously things are going to work better.
Right.
So there are things you can do, and you can do it at home, and you can do it naturally. It doesn't have to be all about, being so dependent on the medical doctor.
Right.
Right. My mother went through a similar thing in 1973. They told her that it was psychosomatic, and she was having this pain in her legs, which turned out to be diabetic neuropathy. And this is the beginning of why I don't go to doctors. This is where it started. I was in Canada at the time, and my family, my mom and all her brothers and sisters, 13, grew up on a farm. They were all big kids, all of them. All of them, at that point, out of 13 kids, probably 6 or 7 of them were diabetics, and were doing insulin, not the pills. They were injections. I wanted to say shooting up, but I knew that was the wrong word. And so I and my sister sent me a letter, and I was traveling at the time on my way to California, and I'd tell them where I was going to be, and then I'd get letters from everybody when I got to that place. So I was in Banff, Alberta, Canada, and I got a letter from my sister with a Polaroid picture of my mother in it, wearing a dress that I left there. So that was a size 5.
Wow.
And I thought, oh my God, she looks horrible. So I called, and my dad told me that, Mom's been going to the doctor. They have her on Quaaludes and Valium, and they keep saying everything's in her head, and she can't even walk from the living room to the dining room without holding on. She's in such pain. And, I was upset. So I went to the library, and I told the lady at the library, I said, I need every medical book, every journal, everything you have piled around me for 3 days. And I read. It was before the internet. And I kept coming back to diabetes. And then I'd say to myself, certainly they've tested for that.
You would think.
It's on her. You have to fill out those forms. Who in your family has this? Does any in your... And so I'd put it aside. I'd read the next book. Guess what? Back to diabetes. And I asked my dad all these questions before I started my research. And then, I'd call, collect, and ask more. And it all came back to diabetes. And one day I called and I said, Dad, everything I'm reading leads back to diabetes. I'm sure that they've tested her for that by now. This has been going on. She'd already lost close to 100 pounds. And I said, certainly they've tested. Well, he says, well, I don't know. But we're going to the doctor tomorrow. They never tested her. It was right out. She had every textbook symptom there was.
So what the heck?
And they told her that it was in her head. And here, take these and be depressed and cry all the time and not leave your house.
That's exactly what it done to me.
See? And that was the beginning of my mistrust in doctors. And that was in 1973.
I went back to that doctor that told me it was all in my head, and I said, you need to go back to school and learn the root cause.
Right. Good for you.
And he did not like it, but you know what? You are not putting another pill in my mouth until you know why.
Right.
No, we can't do that.
Right.
I love it. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you for sharing.
You're very welcome.
Give me a hug, girl.
So now you have doctors that you like and that listen to you, and so they're out there.
I am a doctor myself.
Right. You are your own health advocate.
Well, that was wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. And she's been a miracle girl with me. I mean, I have so many patients that I can point to and just say, wow, this has been a true miracle.
Am I one of them?
You are. Well, you're always a miracle. You were a miracle from birth, but it's just, I always tell people I have the best job in the world because I really get to have front row seats to God's miracles every day.
You do.
Every day I get to see it. It's amazing. Thank you, Marilyn. Well, I'll tell you what. Speaking of chiropractic, because chiropractic is what I do. I'm a holistic chiropractor. I do whole body chiropractic. I also do nutritional assessments and things like that because I feel like it's the whole package for what my realm is. But then there are other modalities that help support what I do, as in massage and physical therapy and
nutritional consulting.
I mean, there's just so many naturopaths.
Right.
Reiki, esoteric. There's so many different types of healing that support what I do, but I try to stick to my realm as much as possible, which is so funny because I have to point out what
She's pointing her
how do
finger
I
at me.
how do I want to say this?